Echoes of Destiny by C.T. Stewart. Wind scours the endless dunes of taupe gray sand, erasing footprints as soon as they are made. I cannot tell where our camp used to begin. It feels as though the planet itself is intent on scrubbing us from its memory. I press my face into the hood of my tattered jacket, squinting through the swirling particles. It is morning, or as close to morning as this planet has. Its sky a pale bruise of dimness, rather than vibrant dawn, never quite day, never fully night. I kneel beside a small crater where the tiniest pool of water forms near a collection of ancient outgrowth that might serve as a grove on this planet. It glimmers with rainbow sheen, mineral deposits that render it barely drinkable. We strain it, boil it, pray our makeshift filtration system will keep us alive. The taste lingers metallic, like iron and old blood. Still, it's water. It keeps us going. We crashed here 4 months ago. Our vessel, the Sultan, once a proud exploratory ship pioneering new star lanes, is now a half-buried shell at the foot of a jagged cliff. On the day of the crash, the hull ripped open like paper. There was smoke and screaming, then a sudden hush as the ship lost power. It's a marvel any of us survived. I lug the water container back to our makeshift camp. The wind howls, catching on the torn metal of the wreck and creating a low, eerie moan. Did we survive? Sometimes I wonder if this planet is alive in its own way, a slumbering giant that punishes intruders, and I question what cosmic law we broke to be exiled to its courtroom. Perhaps we are already dead, and I am a ghost, haunting a dead planet. Or maybe the planet is a ghost haunting me. I shake myself, trying not to let my thoughts drift toward the insane in this hostile and terrible place. Inside the largest piece of twisted hull that serves as our shelter, I find Lane rummaging through empty ration packets. She spares me the faintest glance.
Anything?
Her voice is jagged from thirst. Just the water, I reply. Lane nods and brings a dented thermos lid over to me, understanding my own thirst after an expedition. She is careful not to spill a drop as she pours in water she has already treated. As I drink, the liquid catches in my throat, bitterness making me cough.
How's the water?
Captain Hardin rasps. He sits propped against a section of fallen plating. His eyes flicker with fatigue. 3 broken ribs, a shattered leg. He's the worst injured among us. Still, he insists on hearing daily reports. I raise my voice so he can hear. It's still flowing. Even in his pain, I know he doesn't ask the question for himself. He just wants to know that we're okay. Lane kneels beside him.
I found more of that fungus in the caves. Not much, but enough for a few meals.
The transmissions, any sign of...
He inquires, knowing the dreaded answer.
No.
Lane confirms. Our distress beacon flickers uselessly in the corner, half crushed in the crash. No starship has come, no scouting vessel, no pirates. Lane stands up, lips poised to speak but oddly hesitating.
I think I found something today.
She speaks so quietly, I'm not sure I heard correctly. Found what? I finally ask after she doesn't continue.
In the caves.
She explains.
When I went to gather the fungus, I followed a passage I hadn't noticed before. It was narrow, but I saw shapes on the walls. Patterns, maybe. They looked like star maps.
Star maps. My heart quickens at the phrase. Are you sure? I question her with a doubtful glare. She shrugs, eyes glinting.
Not entirely. Could be primitive etchings for all I know. But they looked more deliberate than that. Almost like constellations.
I glance at Captain Hardin. His breath is shallow, but his gaze locks on us.
Take me there,
he wheezes. Lane's face falls.
You can't go, Captain. The path is too steep. Even I barely crawled through.
He swallows, wincing.
We're explorers. We must explore.
Lane and I exchange a look, equal parts dread and excitement. Another half-day trek through hostile terrain, another half-day back if the storms don't pin us down. It won't be easy, but it's something to do, some purpose beyond existing. All right, I say. We'll go at first light. The storm rages well into the night, battering our shelter until the metal plates sing with every gust. I can't sleep. Instead, I stare at the faint outlines of my hands in the gloom. If there's something in those caves, some sign that we're not alone, what difference will it make? The question rests on my chest like a weight, pressing in with each breath. At dawn, or what passes for dawn on this planet, the wind subsides to a manageable howl. I gather my gear, slip on goggles, and brace for the onslaught of stinging dust. Lane stands beside me, rummaging in a pouch for a handheld scanner. It was damaged during the crash, but still might be able to show thermal readings. Captain Hardin calls us over one last time. His voice is raw.
Remember why we left Earth in the first place?
He whispers.
This is it.
I can offer no response. Instead, I close my eyes. The memory floods me. The swirl of stars closing in on us from above, Earth's atmosphere glowing faintly beneath us as we ascended. Awe and longing, as if we'd been chosen. Now this. We travel for hours. This is my first time to the caves with Lane. We pass behind a series of jagged outcroppings, basalt columns thrusting into the sky like broken teeth. Sand hisses across the stone. When we reach the entrance, I'm struck by a sense of awe, as if the planet itself has parted its jaws. A memory stirs. We used to gaze at new worlds with wonder in our hearts. I realize I haven't felt that sense of awe in a while. Now wonder feels foreign, replaced by survival's dull edge. We click on our helmet lamps. The path spirals downward, rough steps worn into the rock. Strange mineral veins glow faintly, painting the walls in subtle glimmers of purple and gold. Every footfall sends echoes chasing each other through unseen corridors. We trudge through the darkness for almost half an hour, crawling, climbing, and half falling. Then we find them, just as Lane said, faint carvings etched in the stone, lines crossing in geometric arcs, punctuated by dots. No language we recognize, just a quiet suggestion of purposeful design. Lane holds the scanner up, but it only flickers, picking up a confused swirl of readings. They do look like constellations, I whisper. I trace my gloved fingers over one of the carvings. Each groove is precise, carefully set into the rock. Lane tugs my sleeve.
There's something else.
She leads me deeper into a chamber where the ceiling vaults overhead. In the center stands a stone pedestal capped with a rough slab. She angles her lamp. That's when I see what she hadn't before. A device of some sort, half buried in silt. It's small, the size of a helmet, made of a dull metal, cables trailing off like severed veins. Wordlessly, I kick at it until it loosens enough to pick it up. It is heavier than I thought.
What do you think it is?
She asks. Her voice trembles with an emotion I can't name, maybe excitement or fear. I flick on a small cutting tool I found in the wreckage days after crashing and say aloud to Lane and myself, "Let's see if we can open it." The whir of the tool vibrates through my bones. Sparks dance, illuminating the carved walls momentarily. My thoughts drift. We found something new, something possibly alien. The feeling is exhilarating. A spark of the old explorer's spirit, the same drive that once led us to the stars. After a few minutes, the tool breaks through. Lane lifts the small cut panel. Inside, we find a hollow space containing what looks like a crystal, completely unfractured and so immaculate it could have been cut yesterday. It pulses faintly with a glow that dims the moment we expose it, as if responding to our presence. My breath catches. It is exquisite, radiant. This isn't any man-made object. At least not any man that we have yet met in the galaxy. By dusk, we trudged back to camp with the object wrapped in cloth. Lane and I are both exhausted, but the spring in our step due to our find displaces it from showing. Hardin watches us approach, a spark of curiosity replacing the pain in his eyes. Captain Hardin's lips curve in the faintest smile when we show it to him.
Well done. It's something.
His voice cracks as though he's fought too long against despair.
We may not be as alone as we thought.
Lane and I barely sleep the next few days. The crystal seems to have an almost limitless supply of power, but it responds to us in unexpected ways. It is unlike any object we have ever observed before, almost like it has its own mood. In the cramped confines of our makeshift workshop, we labor tirelessly to integrate the pulsing crystal with what remains of our communications array. Wires fuse beneath our trembling hands, sparks showering in the half-lit gloom. Each surge of energy from the crystal sends dancing light across the battered hull, transforming our dismal surroundings into something almost holy. But each time, nothing seems to fix our array. The crystal's power seems like it is incompatible with our equipment. Finally, Lane and I sit down, ready to give up. The captain looks at us both for a long moment before he declares with authority,
We may not fix our array today or tomorrow, but we can try. We can keep trying, because if there's one truth that I know in my soul, it's that we weren't made to crawl in the dirt like mere men.
He pauses, swallowing back pain. The final words fall from his lips like a prophecy.
We were made to sail the stars, like gods.
Silence follows, yet it's a charged silence, bright with unspoken conviction. I rest a hand on the crystal's surface, remembering the hush of the cave, the star-chiseled walls. Maybe we were never truly alone. Maybe we were meant to find this, here, now. A subtle hint of wonder brushes my thoughts. Days later, when at last our tired fingers twist a final connector, the relic flares so brightly that for a moment, my vision whites out. A steady, musical hum resonates in the air. The battered array, once seeming like little more than debris from our crash, crackles with life. I choke out a breath, hardly daring to believe.
We have power.
Lane whispers, her face illuminated by the relic's glow. She flips a switch, and the communications console responds with a strong, rhythmic ping. Signal strength climbs higher and higher, as does our hope. It is tangible in the air, on our faces. Lane transmits an emergency message on every channel we can manage, voice trembling with adrenaline.
This is the crew of the Sultan. We are stranded on an uncharted planet. Can anyone read us?
Silence. Then static, hissing and crackling. We stand there scarcely breathing, hearts pounding. Seconds seem minutes. At last, a new voice breaks through the noise.
Sultan, we are receiving your transmission.
I let out a choked gasp. Lane shudders with relief, covering her mouth to stifle a sob. Captain Hardin closes his eyes, lips moving in silent thanks. The rescue has begun. In less than a week, a miracle after months of emptiness, help arrives, riding through the sky like a glorious steed. Though we couldn't give accurate coordinates, they followed a massive energy spike that appeared just before our transmission. Clearly a manifestation of the crystal's energy. Their vessel, twice the size of our old ship, lands on a small plateau near our wreck. We blink against the glare of its searchlights cutting through the perpetual gray. The sandstorm it stirs howls around the camp, but this storm heralds salvation, not doom. Rescuers descend the ship's ramp in bright environmental suits, shouting our names. Our hands tremble before we manage to wave and shout back. It feels unreal. They hustle us aboard, and as the airlock cycles, the hiss of pressurized air floods my senses. After so long, the crisp, purified oxygen is intoxicating. The medics rush Captain Hardin onto a stretcher. Lane and I follow on unsteady legs. Just before I enter the corridor, I hesitate. My gaze drifts back to the relic, which we've carefully cradled on a wheeled cart. Even now its crystal shines with that ethereal light. The rescuers stare at it, wide-eyed.
What is that thing?
One whispers in awe. I answer quietly. A new dawn, knowing in my heart that it is no mere technology. No one laughs. We strap in for liftoff. The rescue ship's engines roar beneath us, vibrations pulsing through every deck plate. As the thrusters ignite, an exhilaration courses through my veins, something I feared I'd never feel again. Movement, purpose, we're rising. Through a viewport, I watch the forsaken dunes fall away beneath us. Not long ago, that endless stretch of sand was our prison. We were certain it would be our grave. Yet here we are, climbing into the upper atmosphere, leaving the planet's dusty sky behind. The battered Sultan lies in ruins below, a thing that we thought would carry us to our dreams. From the flight deck, we hear the pilot's triumphant whoop as the ship breaches the atmosphere. Starlight floods in through the windows, bathing everything in silver glow. The engines roar, and we rocket forward faster than we ever thought we would again. In the months and years that follow, the relic proves more than a mere power source. It fuels an array of new technologies. Its crystal shards pave the way to power a new generation of starports, revolutionize ship reactors, and spark an age of expansion far beyond the old frontier. Sometimes, I revisit the site of the crash in my dreams. I see the twisted wreckage, hear the planet's frightening wind, but it no longer haunts me. It stands as a monument to rebirth. When my mind drifts to that broken hull, I feel neither sorrow nor regret, but a quiet, indomitable confidence. Because if we could survive that, what demon out there in the vast expanse of stars could ever hope to stop us? And so I leave that lonely world behind in memory with a silent vow. I will not squander this second chance. My heart beats to the relic's luminous rhythm, and in that convergence of hope and power, a foundation for the future has been laid, echoing our destiny. Go forth, explore, conquer the infinite. This concludes Echoes of Destiny by C.T. Stewart.